I want to talk to you today about working remotely. I love it. I made it a center point of how I integrated my life, my career, and my personal life, allowing me to work when I was at my best. And as I grew in my leadership, I helped build teams that were built around flexibility where remote work was the cornerstone. And it worked beautifully. We grew exponentially, and when COVID hit in 2020, our team, our firm didn't even blink. In fact, we soared because we were already working remotely. We had built a culture of trust. We had empowered team members that knew how to work independently, how to be accountable for deliverables. If you're one of those leaders that is adamant that we've got to return to the office 5 days a week, this is not a video for you. This is about how to use one of the most powerful parts of flexibility, where we work. And it's very powerful, but just like other powerful things, it can cost us at times. Think about water, the most essential thing on earth. You can live the longest with just water than anything else. And yet, if you drink too much of it too fast, it can harm you, even kill you. And remote work is like water. It's awesome, but it can cost you if you use it too much. So let's talk about what I know to be true about remote work. When we built our fearless, unrivaled flexibility philosophy, which featured remote work, we weren't following a trend. This was years before COVID. What we were doing is we were losing good people. We had too many people that were burned out, that were having a hard time integrating their responsibilities in their personal life and their career. We needed solutions for our people. We grew to understand that presence is not the same thing as performance. And so we started building that culture of trust, and we scrapped all of our work-life balance rules. And we were on the work-life balance train early on, because you don't need a rule book. You need a philosophy, and people need to understand the philosophy and how to honor their responsibilities around that. But it's about empowerment, accountability, communications, and getting outcomes. It's about being intentional. You don't build true flexibility by accident. You have to be intentional. In fact, last week I shared on the video the 4 hard truths that you have to honor to have true flexibility. I would encourage you, if you want true flexibility, you can't watch that video without coming out of it more empowered to integrate your personal life and your career. It's to help you grow in your career, or to help you grow teams that benefit from a people-first culture. So remote work is very powerful, from allowing parents to pick up kids, to cutting down commute time, to allow them to work when they're at their best, their power hours. But for those of you who are on this kick about people in their seats 5 days a week, 8 to 5, I want to challenge you on that. The best talent is not going to live that way. They're going to look for workplaces and cultures that allow them to integrate their lives. Again, it's not about balance, it's about integrating their lives. And when you put out those mandates, be careful about who comes in and who never shows up. Because I promise you, in that first year, you're going to lose some of your best talent because they have options. Remote work, when it's done right, and we'll talk about what it takes on both sides, team members and leaders. When it's done right, it's a competitive advantage. But let's get to the heart of this video and talk about the water. I want to take you back to early in my career. I had graduated from Ole Miss, and I went to work for Arthur Andersen in Houston, Texas. Big city, big company, one of the largest CPA firms in the world, one of their biggest offices, and a big learning curve. I was a little over a year in to starting my career, and my confidence was shaken a little bit because I had this big learning curve. My first annual review, average, shook my confidence. I didn't want to be average. I'm out here with all this outstanding talent. I can see all of this opportunity, and I wanted to stand out. I'm in a mind state of being a little bit shaken, and I was in the office late one morning clearing some notes up on an audit that I could have done out at the client's office. I even could have done it from home. But I was in the office, I was in the cubicle area for staff people. I'm the only one in that area. And in walked the head of my division. And he looked straight at me and said, "Hi, Joey," and asked me to go to lunch. I could barely speak. I didn't know he knew who I was, and he just asked me to lunch. That lunch changed my career. What I learned, that he knew who I was. He shared his personal story, which helped me to relate to the learning curve that he had. We probably spent an hour and a half together. I know he had other things to do, more important things. That lunch, and I had a relationship with one of the top leaders in the firm. It was because I was visible. I was visible. As I became the leader of my teams and eventually became the CEO and leader of the firm, I made it a habit of walking those hallways, stopping in offices, and visiting with people. A year after my retirement, I found out that there were actually people that came into the office more frequently because they valued that time. They knew I was going to be present and they accessible. You can't replicate on a Zoom call. You can't replicate that. So let's get back to the water, especially for those of you early in your professional careers. Nobody reaches their full potential alone. Building relationships, having sponsors. There's so much growth that happens in the office, at the water cooler, 2 minutes before the team meeting that you've been attending on Zoom call, where the boss sees you handle a difficult situation, or you collaborate with a peer before the meeting and you go into the meeting with a whole new realm of thinking. You build a relationship with somebody that you hadn't met before. All of these things build a foundation and provide additional resources as you grow. They accelerate your career. So if you remember that you grow through relationship, that you grow through being visible. Remote work doesn't stop that, but when you go to fully remote, it makes it much harder, almost impossible. And at the very best, it slows your career down. So if you're early in your career and you have the option, if I'm sitting across the table from you and I give you the option of just being remote every day, I want you to look me in the eye and say, no, thank you. Don't go fully remote, especially early in your career. And even if you're mid-level and you're managing other teams, think about how much more influence you have when you're accessible, when you build relationships in person. How important that time is so you can properly mentor, sponsor, and advocate people. Be very careful of drinking too much of that water. So what is the answer? My experience in my personal life and in leading teams and in leading a firm that grew into over 2,000 team members, and looking at some of the studies that are coming back in regards to work-life flexibility, it's my strong recommendation, really for any point in your career, that you have 2 to 3 days in the office. Not a rigid schedule, just a philosophy that overall, when I look back over the last 90 days, I've averaged 2 to 3 days a week in the office. Being intentional. This gives you the best of both worlds, because knowledge and wisdom that comes through osmosis at the water cooler. You're cutting down your commute time. This gives you the best of both worlds, because you can have a career that continues to soar, and you can have a personal life where you meet your responsibilities and your desires on how you want to live. So how do we make that work from a practical standpoint? You need to have anchor days and anchor meetings. In other words, especially if you're the leader, that there are certain days that are so important you want all the team members in. To build that energy as a team, to collaborate, to get those intentional connections, to generate more collaboration that then will happen even more when people are remote. An anchor meeting might be once a month, it might be once every 3 months, but you have those key anchor moments that make a difference. The second practical thing and advice I can give, besides honoring those anchor days, or setting some anchor days yourself or with part of the team, is build your hybrid schedule around your career, not just around convenience. In other words, don't start with what do I want from a convenience. Do I need to meet Joey? Do I need to meet the division leader Do I need to be present because the collaboration on this project is so big? What does your career need? Build your hybrid schedule around your career and integrate your convenience. And the third practical thing to make this work is have the discipline to deliver and to perform just like you were in the office. From the leader perspective, your job is not to mandate, not to build a bunch of rules, but to build a people-first culture and to build a workplace that's worth showing up for. If I show up, make that time worthwhile, make it meaningful. If I show up and I watch my leader or my team be on Zoom calls all day, why did I commute 40 minutes in today? To make that in-person time meaningful. Leaders make the in-office experience worth it, and when team members deliver and earn that trust of being remote. Because being remote, which is a cornerstone to flexibility, is a privilege. So always treat it as a privilege, something that you have to earn. And trust comes one conversation at a time. Have that conversation with each individual team member that you're going to impact with that policy. The other thing is you've got to model what you expect. From time to time, the team members have to see you be remote. It's all about walking the talk. Seeing is believing, and the team members are going to believe what they see you do. To have those hard conversations because team members are going to make mistakes. Take advantage of this privilege from time to time. Not communicate adequately. Have those hard conversations. Make sure that your team has the tools they need to operate just like they were in the office, whether that's technology, communication tools, access to each other or team members or leadership, those scheduled check-in, anywhere. Make sure that you have the tools. The goal is to have excellence anywhere. It's not about be in the office. It's about the mindset of excellence anywhere. So let's talk about the takeaways very quickly. Remote work is very powerful. Protect it, earn it, use it. Remote work will help you integrate your life. It'll help accelerate your career, your personal life. But it's just like water. If you drink too much of it, it's going to slow you down. Convenience and weighing too much on convenience can cost you relationships. It'll cost you that luck that I talked to you about. It'll cost you visibility. Right now, especially early in your career, or whether you're the leader and you're growing young professionals, this is the time they build a strong foundation. Build that foundation of those relationships and sponsorships and opportunities and visibility. Remember that the best flex plans is not a bunch of rules built on a culture of trust. It's empowerment of people, it's communication, it's accountability, and it's delivering. So as you work with this and you think about remote work, remember our rally cry, be better.